this is it. This is it. It's the big deal, right? But the big seven, right? And you asked the question about using AirDNA and all this other stuff. Well, one of the things I always allude to is that AirDNA can't get me the data specific to the picture on the right that I need, right? And that's so crucial to me, and that's why like using Airbnb only is all you need, right? Because I can go in as a traveler, as you'll see when we walk through, and select. I need a high chair. I need a pack and play. I need a home with a few other kid-friendly amenities, and I'm gonna check toys, right? So you'll see when we do that, you'll see the number of homes in the market go from like 3,000 to like 3, right? And that becomes key, because then you'll be like, all right, well, there's the gap in the market, right? There's the gap, right? And this is part of what we're going to aim to fill. But let me go back to the left here and walk through the big seven. So head to bed ratio is first, because we're putting ourselves in a traveler's shoes. That's the first thing they look for, right? And I always joke and say that, listen, that's probably the most important thing, because people generally know where they're going. They know the dates that they're traveling, but they really have to find accommodations for everybody in their party. And it's not like are you messing with your cat?
Yeah, my dog. I got 2 dogs, and they're just walking around, and the big one loves to sit right under where all the stuff are, and she's a big girl, so I gotta be like, Kalua, get out.
Okay. But you go in and you select based on the number of people you have, and I always joke and say, well, if you're traveling with 10 people, you're not going to just like leave the kids at home because of what's not offered in the market, right? You're going to find appropriate accommodations. So head to bed ratio becomes key. And then I talk about hosting events, but yes, that becomes key, because a lot of people fret at the notion of taking events. But again, as I mentioned, we use the house rules to mitigate that. And what we found is, when you hold money from people through security deposits and they have skin in the game, they're 99% inclined to take care of your property, right? And I will never say that something bad will never happen, but we take security deposit dependent upon the risk that we assess. And I'll give you an example. In Atlanta, property had the young lady book an event, but if they book an event, it has to be a minimum of 4 days. So one, we make them stay longer. And then 2, she had a $1,250 security deposit for that stay, because she wanted to have an event with her family members over a couple of days. And I was completely okay with it, because if she really wanted it, then she was going to pay for it and put skin in the game. And at the end of the day, look, they stayed, they had a good time, gave some positive feedback, and left the house spotless, right? And any Airbnb Facebook group you go in any day, at the notion of events, people will just reply with, no, you're crazy, people are not tearing up my house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there are two problems inherent with that. One, you can control, right, who comes, how long they come, how much they pay, and what they can do. You can control that simply by putting all of your parameters in the house rules. And guess what? If they don't agree with it, then they don't have to book and stay, right? You're not losing anything.
That is true.
And if they do book, then you're charging an event fee, which replaces the nightly fee. So in cases like ours, depending on the location, but at a minimum, the day of the event, it's a minimum of $300. And in some cases at other properties, it's $500 or $600 the day of that event, which replaces the nightly rate that they pay for an Airbnb. And then you've got the security deposit, you've got a valet trash fee, and then you've also got an additional cleaning fee, right? So I can come out of an event that I have full control over and make an additional $1,000 in some cases, right?
Wow.
And you see the note next to host events, right? Peerspace. I don't know if I've ever mentioned to you before if you've seen Peerspace, but in some cases, depending upon the type of event they're looking for and if it meets their time requirements, we've been able to push them to Peerspace, right? Which the platform is built for events. So all of the things that we worry about with Airbnb are already done for us in Peerspace because that's what the site exists to do. It exists to host events. So,
Peerspace.
I'm sorry?
I said I need to look into Peerspace. I've heard you speak about it all the time, and I honestly haven't looked into it myself.
Yes, and it's a game changer because one, you could in theory host an event in Peerspace from 8 to 12 a.m. Or 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then take in an Airbnb guest the same afternoon, right? Because Peerspace charges by the hour for events, and then in most cases, you want at least a 2 or 4 hour minimum on booking. So depending on the type of event that you're hosting, you can really maximize use in your space by doubling up on Peerspace plus Airbnb.
Now let me ask you. I know this is a little bit out, but where do you come up with all the rules? Like when they've been written, do you have that? Do you sell that for events, the rules that you put and all the pricing? How do you determine all that?
Based on all the things people on Facebook say
as they go, right?
That scares them.
And it's constantly changing. Like I read the other day, and I actually have it here. Somebody with an electric blanket burned the house. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't.
And the electric blanket, the person did something to the blanket knowingly that it's a hazard and still burned the house. And everybody's like, I'm going to add into my rules, no electric blanket. I'm like, that's an excellent rule. So I wrote it down, like I should add that one to my rule. And if there is, you're responsible for everything kind of scenario.
Yeah, your house rules should never be stagnant, right? And I always say my house rules are linked to Facebook because you always find out what people are either afraid of or what keeps them up at night and what's just going wrong. And then you look at that intently and see if it's necessary in your house rules. And let me just caveat that with it. There was a guy that wrote a post about his house rules and it got like 150 comments, but at the end of the day, people thought by and large that he was just a jackrabbit, right? Because it was a bunch of what you can't do in my concentration camp as a guest, to include like you can't have visitors, like that's just dumb, right? But you don't want, my point being, you don't want to make your house rules like a second book that people have to read and agree to, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be reasonable. You want to generalize things as much as possible because you want them to come back and ask questions if they need further explanation with respect to some things. So I say that with a little bit of caution and with respect to seeing everything and then adding it to your house rules. Don't turn a couple bullets into a book that's going to take people's time, because they will in some cases just go away, right, and find somewhere else to take their money.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
So the kid-friendly amenities, as pictured, right? That is a standard setup for each of our properties, and that's three filterable items in Airbnb, right? The pack and play, the high chair, and the toys, right? And then as pictured, and we'll talk about this, but uh, there is some there's some keys with respect to having kid friendly or pet friendly in your listing title. It's highlighted in your summary, and then you've also got a picture of it in the first few photos, right? There's some magic associated with that, I promise you, that Airbnb's algorithms pick up on it, and for people that are searching in a given area, your property will rank higher. And in most cases, I told you about uh, the lady in El Paso, Paolo, that I'm helping with her property. So she had a property that I came in to assist with that had literally two bookings when I came in to co-host it, and I looked at it for a couple nights, saw the impressions and the clicks, which were there, but it wasn't converting. And I simply rearranged the photos, changed the listing title, and added some descriptive words that link back to not only the photos but the uh, the listing title. And
The algorithm, right? There's different.
August, right? August, September, 90% or better book
Wow.
on that property.
That's
Right.
awesome.
So she went from worrying about the listing doing well and making a profit to now she's turning people away in some cases. Uh,
Now, let me ask you actually something in that regard.
mhm.
In my case here with this house, we have Nicholas's room, who actually has it's a kid's room. It's a kid's room, and it has a card bed and everything. And we were thinking about selling it, but now with you mentioning this whole, it's nice to have that kid's amenity. I
Mhm.
was thinking maybe I leave that bed because it's two beds, and then even put a little bunk bed in there, so then four kids can actually fit in one, or four different people. I don't know. What do you think of that? It's a huge room. Our rooms upstairs are huge.
Oh yeah. I mean, so it goes back to the first point, right? Head to bed ratio.
Well,
Uh,
that's the thing. If I had to had a bed ratio, I could literally feel like
mhm.
about five, six beds upstairs, if not more, just
Yeah.
because of how big those bedrooms are, you know.
Right, and the point to remember is that some people ask, well, why do you have so many beds in a home? And the reality of it is it gets back to my earlier point. You want to be marketable to everybody, so I want to be able to be marketable to the group of 16 that I can get a lot more money from, and I want to be marketable to the couple that's just looking for a weekend getaway, right? And again, so you want to compete for across as many markets or traveler demographics as possible, period. And that to me just follows the a simple marketing approach that hotels and other successful businesses use. And I often say, listen, well, do you see Amazon only marketing to people that you know shop at Walmart or people that live in Minnesota? No, right? It's just they market to everybody, and they're expanding constantly into other markets to bring in different demographics of shoppers, and that's just business. So we shouldn't view this any differently. And
Gotcha.
I always someone I did a podcast the other night, and someone was talking about uh, targeting a certain traveler type in the market because they were in a beach market. And again, I think their thought process went against everything that conventional wisdom says is good business, right? They were like 25 and up, and blah blah blah. But again, it was just like soul sourcing their one place to try to fit that traveler demographic. And my question was, well, one, what are you going to offer these people that are 25 and above, and you're only taking in 2 people? What are you going to offer them that's any different in your market than everybody else, right? And the cricket started, right? Because again, to do something like that, you've got to offer something truly unique. And I would say, like, if you're going to do something that extreme to be that specific in your targeting, then go ahead and buy the jacuzzi or the hot tub indoors, rose petals for everybody, finest champagne around, with,
unique.
no cards at the door when they come in with their white furry robes, right? I mean, but that's the point of it. But that's not an Airbnb thing, right? There's no need to have to do that to do well with an Airbnb. So never soul source yourself into one traveler demographic. And
Definitely. Unless you're like in Orlando and you're like right next to Disney and you're only looking for Disney people, that makes sense because you're right there. But
and everybody goes to Disney, right? So it's kind of like, it's not a matter of
you're in Disney.
If it's just when they're going to Disney, right? So yeah, but no, you get it. So the same thing with pets, right? And you have pets, so you understand what pet amenities people look for. And generally, the rule of thumb is that if people have to ideally travel with it, if they have pets or kids, you want to provide it, and you want to highlight it. Hey, leave your pack and play at home, or leave your your pet litter at home. Right. And there you go. So that then becomes a game changer also, and business friendly amenities, right? So this is something fairly new, and I took this from a listing or a guy that posted something in a Facebook group, but we typically provide a desk, a lamp, and a chair, right? No big deal, but it gives us the ability to check that block. But this guy had the desk, but he also brought a
monitor,
or 2 monitors with the
cords,
the pole and the cords, right?
Yeah,
so
we do that in one of our properties.
Really?
Yeah, because the boys use that property when they go there, so they leave the monitor, and you're welcome to use it when you're there.
Just plug in and go.
Yeah, that's it. So when they come, they have their laptop, they plug it in, and we've had that monitor, it has all the stuff. People use it all the time.
Awesome. I thought it was one of the brightest things I've seen. Simple, cost friendly,
exactly.
But a lot of value when people see that, right? Hey, bring your laptop, plug in, and whether it's the kids that are gaming or me doing like work, right? That's tremendous value with respect to business friendly amenities.
And not only that, do you put TVs in every bedroom? No, so that's actually then a plus, because since we don't put TVs in every bedroom, we put a monitor in the office, and then people can also use that to watch TV and watch their shows and watch whatever they want.
Great point.
And it also works as business, so it does both.
There you go. I like it.
Definitely gonna do that too.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, we have a couple. We both have laptops. Like my son has a laptop, and I bought him a monitor, and I just bought myself a new one. I gave him my old one and got the new one for myself.
Nice.
But he loves it. He does all his schooling and everything there. So yeah, I'll do something like that. Perfect.
There you go. And then so this is not I don't want to say it's not a popular thing, right? But handicap accessible listings. Airbnb has the area for accessibility, and a lot of people just don't fill it out, right? But it's not there to be detailed and say I have the best handicap listing in all of town, but it's worth it because all you're doing is putting applicable pictures to give potential handicapped visitors a look at the property and how they would be able to access the property and move around the property. And what I found is, and this is key because we've taken in maybe once every 2 months or once every 3 months a handicapped individual, right? That was traveling. So all that means, and I'll tie this back to the other 5 bullets, right? You look at each of these areas, and in an ideal situation, let's just say you get a booking from a traveler demographic or a traveler that are looking for, that book your place because of one of these specific things, right? Mm-hmm. So put that against a 30-day calendar. That's 6 potential bookings in a month. And we didn't even include our regular travelers that are just visiting family, or, they're stopping in for a night because of a long trip, or, whatever our regular traveler, short-term rental traveler demographic offers. So this becomes the market, right? This is setting the market to your advantage, and getting us back to the first point of.
Nico, hold on, mommy's on the meeting.
Getting us to hey, what's up, man? Getting us to a point of offering unique value, right? And again, I promise you, this is the script that we follow with each listing, and it allows us to truly set ourselves apart in most cases from everybody else. So at the bottom there, I talked a little bit about AirDNA, but again, confirm the number of active listings right on Airbnb and VBRO. And what it does for you, it tells you how many listings in your area are on both platforms, right? So you could essentially say that the big 7 is really a big 8, because listing across as many platforms as possible is key. And one of the things that I do, and you may want to look at this, but I use each platform separately, right? So Airbnb has a different travel demographic than VBRO, and me understanding that allows me to, or leads me to use Airbnb for, I say anywhere from 1 to 6 day stays, right? That's sort of the target. People, weekend travelers, 1-day travelers, looking for a couple of days. And then VBRO, the settings are for 7 days or longer with each property.
And I hear the crowd is older as well, correct?
Yes, completely different traveler demographic in VBRO versus Airbnb. Yeah. And then Booking.com and Facebook Marketplace are 30-day or longer stays, okay. Right? So for each platform, it serves a very specific purpose in terms of the not only travel demographic, but the length of time. So if I get a hit on Facebook Marketplace or Booking.com or VBRO, I know exactly what that means, right? Versus having all of the same settings for all of the different sites.
I see what you mean. So when you get something from Booking, you book something for 30 days right away. You're not like, oh, did I book this for 7 days or 1 day? You automatically know that that's your 30 plus days booking.
Yeah, and it's a way, but I always say that because Airbnb these days are bringing in most of the money and traffic for most people, then it's going to get the bulk of attention, rightfully so, in marketing efforts. But you've just got to be marketable across each of those platforms, right? Right. And I've gotten 30-day stays through Facebook Marketplace. I've got bookings through Booking.com. I've got bookings through VBRO as well as Airbnb. So all that means is that it works, right?
Do you have your own website as well?